Ladies and gentlemen, today is April 5th, 2021, also known as 4/5, which will, from this day forth, be known as Trump Day in honor of the 45th president.
Fantastic. Good. Perfect. I deserve my own day. And we're going to have to make 4/7 about me as well because I am running in 2024. I'll have 2 holidays.
That de facto means April 6th will be Biden Day.
Exactly. That's going to be the best day of the year.
Someone tweeted at me. They were like, in order for it to be fair, then tomorrow has to be Biden Day. And okay.
Yeah, I'll celebrate Biden Day, dude. Just speak in gibberish. Say sentences that don't mean anything.
Fall down the stairs and struggle to speak. It'll be like a thing.
Oh, my goodness. It's almost sad at this point. I kind of feel bad making fun of him.
In like 1,000 years, people put on goofy hats and then jump down the stairs while making strange noises and not understand the tradition.
The tradition of Biden Day.
Biden Day. Ladies and gentlemen, we had news and then we started making jokes and then we all forgot what was going on. So, no, we have some interesting news. I've been watching the Chauvin trial, and there's something interesting that I've noticed because I'm watching this trial, and it's definitely that there's one live stream playing, but 2 different versions of reality. I guess depending on your bias. And when I'm watching this trial, I'm very interested in the defense and the prosecution. And I got to say, the prosecution got a bunch of very excellent points across today about Chauvin, whether apparently he never received training, where we've seen this photo of the guy with the knee on his neck. Oh, that wasn't he wasn't trained in that. So they made some interesting points, but there's always a counter. Now, where it gets really interesting is how the media incessantly just chooses to frame it as though Derek Chauvin is losing, and I don't believe that's the case. I think, based on what we've seen so far, acquittal is likely, but that's just my opinion, and I could be wrong. I don't know what the jury is thinking. And I'm seeing a lot of the same stuff the jury is, as many of you are. I could be entirely wrong, and I think it's very, very middle of the road. It's 50-50. It could go either way. I'm kind of leaning towards acquittal because a lot of stuff that's come out. For instance, the doctor today who testified said that George Floyd died of hypoxia, and then even said, when asked, that fentanyl, the main reason it's dangerous is because it depresses your respiratory system, which causes hypoxia. I thought that was a very excellent point by the defense. And then the counter, I guess, is just, well, it could have been choking, I suppose. But it doesn't seem like the physical evidence to Floyd's body backs that up. So we'll get into all this stuff. What's fascinating is how the media changes the headlines of their stories to reflect an anti-Chauvin narrative, setting it up that he's going to lose and will be convicted. And then when people keep seeing the news saying like, oh, defense says this and they testify this, and you keep hearing how awful it is and how you keep hearing how it should be Chauvin going to jail, and they omit the key evidence that defends him, well, then what do you think people are going to do when he gets acquitted? If he does, their expectations will be set very high. They'll say something like, I don't understand. I read all the news. He should have been convicted based on the headlines I saw. And then riots will happen. So we're going to talk about that. We got a couple other stories too. Clarence Thomas issues this massive opinion opening the door to potentially sue or regulate big tech and Section 230. So we're going to get into this. And as most of you probably realized already, because for a moment someone was speaking like Trump, what? Seamus from freedomToons is here.
I'm back. It is fantastic to be back here. Thank you for having me on, Tim.
I'm glad you're here, Seamus.
What's that?
Who are you?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So my name's Seamus Coughlin. I have a YouTube channel called freedomToons. I make educational cartoons and political satire, mostly political satire on the freedomToons channel these days. So go check that out if you'd like. We just released a pretty funny video about Joe Biden. We're going to be releasing another cartoon Thursday. We release a video once a week. So go over there and enjoy them.
Yes.
You're also very learned in history, which is always refreshing to have you on. And
thank you. I appreciate
chat about
that.
the past.
I appreciate that. I am. You know, are you making fun of the way Midwesterner sound?
No, I'm Midwesterner too.
From the past, is this
that
Tim? You should take offense to
yours.
this as well because we're from
Chicago.
like the same. Yeah, exactly. From the past over
Nobody
there.
says Chicago.
Chicago.
It's like a weird stereotype
like
for people who don't live there.
Chicago. No, that's the weird thing
Chicago.
too. Yeah, my dad's born and raised on the South Side, and he like pronounces the A less than I do when he says Chicago. He's just like Chicago, like, which is not exactly like that. Like I can't even do it.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, the A, it's just an offensive stereotype, and
A-W-G-O.
that's not actually how people from the Chicago area sound.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's extremely
Ian.
offensive.
Hey everyone, I am Ian Crossland. It is true, and you could always follow me at IanCrossland.net, where I do. Well, I don't know. I just do weird stuff.
He doesn't know what he does.
Try and unify the planet.
Ian, yeah. When Tim asked who Ian was, he's like, "Wait a minute, I don't."
I have a broad scheme. And
Ian's
it's
not
kind of
actually
vague sometimes.
Ian's not actually here. He's an astral projection.
Ethereal.
Oh my goodness.
True.
We had a dude who just joined the team, and he came here several times, but Ian was never around. And he was like, "I'm convinced that Ian's not real."
Yeah,
I
he told
sleep
me that
during
too.
the day.
And I was like, well, that's the truth. That Ian's an astral projection.
He's a hologram.
He's a hologram. He's not really on the show. He's not a real person.
It's a vibrating multitude of spheres. That's about all I can say. Right
All right, great intro.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Lydia's also here.
Yeah, what about
I'm
Lydia?
also here in the corner. I do eventually get to myself once you guys are finished. I was going to say that our new employee has been having a lot of fun saying that we are all just figments of Ian's imagination, which I think is accurate and fair.
I like this guy.
That's
People,
right,
people
The whole
come
audience
He's
too.
great.
There's no
Because-
studio. It's just like a shack in the woods with Ian in it, and he imagines the studio and it just forms around him.
Pretty cool.
All right.
What a
Yeah,
beautiful
That would be an
mind.
interesting movie,
That is
actually.
weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, my
Kinda
friends,
like Brigadoon.
we're supposed to be serious, but it's just so hard these days. Well, it's probably good that we're joking around a bit because we're going to get real serious with this upcoming news
Oh,
and
boy.
the consequences for it. Before we do, go to timcast.com, become a member, get access to exclusive segments that only members get access to. We had Michael Malice on the show last Friday, right?
Yeah.
Oh no,
Thursday.
last Thursday.
April
Last Thursday.
Fool's Day,
Not-
yes.
Julie Borowski was on Friday, but we did this great.
Oh, you had Julie on?
Yeah, she was
She's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
It was a
Yeah.
really good show.
We did this bonus segment with Michael Malice. Became a full episode where we talked about secrets to success and advice we had for people. And if you want to hear some advice from from Michael, from me, from Ian, from Lydia, and things that helped us, then become a member at timcast.com. Help support the show. In the event that there's a great purge happening that hits us, as it probably will eventually, we'll see how it goes. We could use your support. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you're listening to this on a podcast like iTunes or whatever, leave us a good review. Give us 5 stars. That really, really does help. Everybody else, smash that like button and subscribe. We are so close to 1 million subscribers. I want to make YouTube give me that golden plaque. We already have some from my other channels, but we should have 3 of them.
I
You're
want
getting
one.
kind of
4.
greedy, man.
I have 3 already. We need 4.
I need one.
Yeah.
Are you gonna just split it among everyone?
Well, no,
here?
they
break it into
they'll,
fifth. Yeah,
they'll issue one for everybody on the show.
Really?
No joke.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yep,
awesome.
that's
So
right.
just like make me a host right before they send it. You should make. A
I mean,
bunch
I
of
just
people
tell them,
official
like, here are the
hosts.
people, and it
There's
costs
like
money.
12 hosts, and
Yes.
that they cost them even making so much money for their platform, Tim. Even when they demonetize you, I
You
think they
get
should just send
one golden plaque for free, and then you have to pay for the rest, but they'll issue them for team members.
you. And it is real gold, right? Like, it is
Absolutely. It's
real
so
solid
heavy.
gold.
Yeah, solid gold, you know.
If you
yeah.
look
The
on-
shipping cost is where they get you, really.
You might be if you look on IMDb. You're probably listed as on a producer
why are
or
we
something.
doing
Like staff member.
Yeah, this show's on IMDb. Everyone,
It is,
I think
yeah.
everyone goes on, and all the guests and everything.
Beautiful.
I don't know who
Good to
manages that stuff.
Me neither.
Me neither. Yeah.
How about we talk about the news, my friends?
Sure. I mean, if you want, if that's what you want to do, I
I
thought we
do.
could like, talk
I
about our
do.
days. But
about
I
the
was
news. What did you-
traveling most of the day. I'm a little tired, but no, my feelings don't matter. Let's talk about the
They
news.
don't. You know what matters?
Facts.
Earlier,
Media.
earlier today, my friends. So I was listening to the trial live, and there was this really powerful point between the defense and the ER doctor who was treating George Floyd, trying to save his life. The defense said, long story short, like what happened, and they're giving really in-depth detail. Essentially, the ER doctor says that George Floyd died due to hypoxia, which is, can you give us the medical breakdown of what that means?
Pretty straightforward. Hypoxia is just low oxygen. Like a
Hypo is
constriction-
low and
hypo,
oxia is an
oxia
oxygen.
Yep, that's it.
There you go. And he went on to say that there was a high concentration of carbon dioxide in the blood. Now, I think on the surface, the average person hears, well, he was suffocated, right? The knee was on his neck. Well, what the defense basically said was, can fentanyl cause hypoxia or a high concentration of carbon dioxide in the blood? And the doctor said, yes. Can methamphetamine? The doctor said, yes. And the defense then said, is one of the reasons that there is such a warning about fentanyl is that it depresses the respiratory system. And this was what shocked me. The doctor goes, it's the reason. And I went, whoa, from the doctor. He didn't just volunteer up. He didn't just say yes or no. He volunteered up and like, no, that's legit. Exactly why fentanyl is bad. It causes hypoxia. Interesting. Now, it seems like the doctor still went on to say he thinks that it was, he had no reason to believe it was a drug overdose. In which case, the doctor still, there's a cross-examination. The prosecution comes in and says, but isn't it possible that having your knee on someone's neck could result in hypoxia, which causes the heart to stop? And the doctor said yes. I still think it's very, very fascinating. The doctor said it's the reason fentanyl is so dangerous. And so I went, whoa. I was like, we should definitely talk about this. So I Google searched it, right? I Google searched, defense, Chauvin, hypoxia. And I see this. Check this out. Look at this Google search. You can see I searched for Dr. Chauvin hypoxia. 5 hours ago, ABC News, ER doc theorizes lack of oxygen stopped Floyd's heart. You can see in these, the text here, they questioned whether or not some drugs can cause hypoxia. You can see right here as well. Baltimore Sun, Derek Chauvin trial, ER doctor testifies. You scroll down. There's even more. George Floyd's heart likely stopped hypoxia. What do you think happens if I click this story? All right, let's open up ABC. Police. Let me turn this off. The headline's different. Kneeling on Floyd's neck violated policy. Well, that's not what I Google searched. I didn't search for that headline.
Yeah.
I wanted to know about the hypoxia.
This is why
Weird.
you use
Okay.
DuckDuckGo.
Well, hold on. Let's go to the Baltimore Sun. Derek Chauvin trial. ER doctor testifies. All right, well, let's learn about the ER doctor so I can pull up the source and show everybody. Derek Chauvin trial. Kneeling on George Floyd's neck violated our policy. Well, that's not what I Google searched. So what's happening is that the Associated Press changed the headline on all their articles after they were already published. So for me, who's trying to search for this to show everybody what's going on, we're getting a different story which changes the framing. Think about it. If the doctor said hypoxia caused this, and fentanyl, it's like the main reason fentanyl is dangerous is that it can lead to hypoxia. And then I'm like, I want to show that to people because it's a very important point for the defense. And then all of the headlines change to say, kneeling on the neck violated policy. Wow. Well, all of a sudden now the articles that I'm pulling up and would likely show someone, imagine this. Imagine I had that story. Right when I saw the doctor say this, I went, whoa. And I shared that story on Facebook or Twitter.
Wow.
Then along comes, my mom or my dad or my brother, and they're like, what's this that Tim shared? And they click it, and instead of getting the story where I'm like, this is important, they get a different story. Chauvin violated policy. I did not share that story. So here I am. We're trying to do this show. And I was like, we definitely got to talk about that. That's a very interesting point. It's not a guarantee that Chauvin will be acquitted because of this. I just thought it was interesting to bring up, and to also bring up that very well, like putting a knee on someone's neck could result in hypoxia. The reason why I think this is important, though, is it offers a counterpoint to the narrative we've all already heard. When I try to pull up the articles, we get something entirely different. That's creepy manipulation, stealth editing that shapes the narrative. And here's my fear. When I'm reading all this news, I see a lot of really, really important points from the defense. Notably that there's training materials they've highlighted, a PowerPoint showing a cop kneeling on someone's neck. This stuff many people have seen. In the trial, there was an argument between the defense and the judge as to whether or not this actually mattered because Chauvin did not undergo that specific training. The argument from the defense was if the cops are all, doing this and saying this is an updated policy, then it makes sense that this might, exist. These things don't appear. Like the points from the defense about hypoxia, about drug use, about, what we talked about the other day. What was it? I can't remember all the details. The media always headlines with Chauvin guilty, right? So now we have this. We have the police chief testified that Chauvin violated policy. But there's another really crazy story, and the media frames it. Check this out from Forbes. Derek Chauvin defense shows video clip to suggest knelt on George Floyd's shoulder, not his neck. That's right. And when the police chief was shown the video, get this. The police chief was shown the video, and the defense said, based on this alternate camera angle from a body camera, would you say that Chauvin, it appeared he was kneeling on Floyd's shoulder? The police chief said, yes.
Okay.
Shouldn't these things be like, look, we all know that the narrative has been Chauvin kneeled on Floyd's neck. It's bad, and he's a bad cop. He was fired for it. When evidence comes out that suggests the official narrative may be wrong, shouldn't that be the highlight for a lot of reasons?
Yeah, can humans overcome cognitive dissonance is a big question. And I think, really it's our duty to do that. When we're presented with information that violates what we thought was real, we really have to let go of what we used to think was real and look at the new information.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of how you feel about this case, I haven't looked into it very deeply. I haven't done much research on it, so I can't comment one way or the other. But regardless, it's very frightening, though unsurprising, that big tech and these media companies would go through and try to suppress information that promotes a narrative that they're not comfortable with.
Well, here's the creepy thing. I look at the AP, so all these headlines from all these outlets, it's the same article. It's the Associated Press, and they're just republishing the AP. I don't think there's anything nefarious necessarily. I think there's an inherent bias with a lot of these companies, and they're thinking like, oh, okay, more information has come out, let's change the headline.
Interesting.
They initially did run the headline, ER doctor suggests hypoxia,
so you've
fentanyl can cause this.
through my disguise.
But then they changed the headline,
Okay, fair enough.
which fundamentally changes the framing of the story when people are sharing it. Right? So here's what's crazy, though. Forbes, I find it particularly interesting. They say, suggests the officer knelt on his shoulder. What's funny about suggest is they straight up said he did. And the police chief said yes. Look what they say, top line. With limited evidence put forward so far to bolster his case, that's an insane thing to write. Derek Chauvin's lead defense attorney, Eric Nelson, on Monday sought to cast doubt for jurors over one of the most prominent details of George Floyd's death, the length of time the officer had his knee on the 46-year-old black man's neck. Interestingly, let me go down. Nelson highlighted that while it appeared Chauvin had his knee on Floyd's neck in the video recorded by Frazier, the knee appeared to be on Floyd's shoulder blade during the same period in the body camera footage. Asking Arredondo, would you agree that from the perspective of Officer Kung's body camera, it appeared Officer Chauvin's knee was more on Mr. Floyd's shoulder blade? Yes, Arredondo responded. Though the prosecution, which took the stand immediately after, was quick to highlight that this was one specific moment at a time when the ambulance had already arrived and very shortly before they loaded Mr. Floyd onto the gurney. We are not looking for definitive proof of innocence. We are looking for reasonable doubt. The burden is on the state. They need to prove he did it, he had the intent. If there is video footage that suggests we may be looking at the perspective wrong and people may have incorrectly assumed the knee was on the neck, that's very important. And the police chief said yes upon looking at the body camera footage. This is the police chief that fired these cops. Now, what's fascinating is Forbes' framing, once again, is already anti-Chauvin. They've already made up their mind. He's guilty. And this is just a distraction to suggest otherwise. We all saw it. We already saw The Nation, and who was it? Chelsea Handler?
Yeah.
They were like, we shouldn't even have a
We
trial.
can have trials.
Yeah. Oh well.
You
good.
see that?
Yeah. Because the media, told us what happened. So why would we need to look into it any
Yeah,
further
video.
than that?
The argument is that, well, there's video. We saw it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fair, but that doesn't mean you don't need a trial. Like, what happens? So if there's no trial, how is the person punished? Is it not by the justice system?
I mean, they're saying no trial. Exactly why. It highlights the exact reason why we have trials.
Yeah, exactly.
If
Exactly.
video comes out that's shaky and it's someone yelling and you see a guy with a knee on a neck, there's so much we need to know to prove or convict someone of murder. Murder 2 requires intent. Murder 2 and 3 require intent. Mm-hmm. It's manslaughter that doesn't. It's just negligence.
Yeah.
So he has a knee on his neck. Okay, well, now there's even doubt as to whether he really had his knee on his neck because alternate body camera footage that we didn't see before shows, according to the police chief,
Yeah,
he was on
I
a
have
shoulder
no,
blade.
I have no idea about any of that. It's been so long. I remember seeing the video and it looked very much like he was on his neck, but also I saw this months ago and I can't recall all of it.
And it's possible he had it on his neck and then he took it off his neck and put it on his
moved-
shoulder.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
But
he
that
was going
changes the
back
whole
and
narrative
forth,
then.
Right.
Changes the whole narrative.
It could still be manslaughter, though, I think, is his point.
I'm not even convinced it's going to be manslaughter. I mean, it very well could be. There's definitely important points to bring up. Like, they are saying that he violated policy. That's true, okay? Kneeling on the neck, violated policy, Minneapolis police chief testifies. It's certainly not part of our ethics, and he did get fired for it. So
Yeah.
while the prosecution has the administration basically throwing Chauvin under the bus, like, dude did it, there's still good there's still good points from the defense, and I got to say, reasonable doubt. We're not looking for 100% proof of innocence. We're looking at maybe Floyd died from fentanyl.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. All they really need to do is establish a reasonable doubt, and then he walks.
That's why I think he'll be acquitted. Not that they've proven Floyd died of hypoxia, but that the doctor literally said that's the reason fentanyl is so dangerous.
Prince died from fentanyl overdose.
Did he really?
No physical trauma. He just laid there and fell asleep and died.
Yeah, so what happens with hypoxia is that your breathing slows so much. I remember monitoring people who had been on drugs and their respirations would get down to like 6 a minute, which is insane. You're supposed to be like 16 to 18 per minute because you're just like, you're basically comatose. When you're on that much medicine, you're completely unaware of anything and your body's not even able to keep you.
I would say, I don't know the specifics about Prince. He might have been drunk too. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure that combo is a killer.
Well,
for sure.
I think, I went over a lot of the evidence. Like normally my main segment videos are like a half hour. This one went 35 minutes. Ooh, 5 minutes longer than normal.
My goodness.
Because I went through the charges, second, third degree, and I don't know if you saw this, Seamus, that there was another guy in the vehicle with George Floyd. This guy's name is Maurice Lester Hall. Did you hear about this guy?
No.
He
No,
was-
like I said, I really, and this is part of why I'm reluctant to comment, I know nothing
Well,
about this
check
case.
this out. Check this out. Let me tell you, Seamus. So this guy, according to George Floyd's girlfriend, was selling drugs to George Floyd and her. He didn't really hang out with them all that often. And there they were together in the vehicle. From that, it kind of sounds like he's just their dealer. This dude, Maurice Lester Hall, was supposed to testify for the state as one of their key witnesses. And a day before he files like an emergency motion, he's pleading the fifth and refusing to testify. You know why I think that happened?
Why?
The judge put murder 3 back on the table. Murder 3 in Minnesota states that if you sell someone a substance and they take it and die, you are guilty of murder in the third degree.
Interesting.
Yup. So I'm wondering if that alone, I don't know if the jury can take into account the fact that a dude bailed and pleaded the fifth. I don't think it's
You're
fair
not
to.
supposed to, right?
Well, I wouldn't. I would be like, dude, pleaded the fifth. I'm not going to make assumptions about it.
Yeah.
Like now, externally, from a media standpoint, it certainly feels like the dude got implicated and then was like, yo, I'm out. Reasonable doubt, man.
Floyd said he was hooping in the video. If you listen to it, which means that the slang
Basketball.
term is that you play
Playing
basketball.
basketball.
No, it means that you put drugs inside your
We're attempting
self,
to smuggle
butt
them.
or
Yeah,
your
I don't know.
mouth.
Yes, yes.
And so maybe he did that, and that's why he overdosed.
Well, this is what's interesting. It was one of the questions asked by the defense, and that is kind of gross. But the defense asked the doctor if he was familiar with people,
Smuggling these drugs.
hooping
Yeah.
in that sense. And I don't think that line of questioning actually ended up going anywhere. He diverted off it right away. But I have to say, the judge said this in September about Floyd, that it looked like he had something in his mouth. There's video that shows it, and many people have speculated that he was in the middle of a drug deal. The cops walked up, so he threw it in his mouth and swallowed it. And then he said he was hooping.
And a lot of times when the people will be hooping, they'll put it in a plastic baggie and then put it in their butt or something for to transport it, But I think also you can just put it in your mouth and swallow it without a bag, and that's also considered hooping.
But then you're just taking the drug.
Taking it,
I
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
That's weird, yeah.
Reasonable doubt, man. That's all it takes. I don't know. I look at the media and I'm trying to better understand the story, but it's like every time I pull up a story, the headline is always like bad for Chauvin. But there's certainly it's almost like you'd imagine the defense was doing nothing, just literally sitting there getting yelled at the whole time because the headlines are always anti-Chauvin.
This one, was it a Forbes article you were just reading? Says he's a black man. They're very specific. They want to make sure
Well,
you
also,
know.
Well, and also, I mean, the footage is really, really bad for Chauvin too.
Why?
With him kneeling on his neck, I mean, there's a reason the entire country was immediately against him. They saw even conservative people were watching that, like, all right, that's way too far.
But there's a PowerPoint presentation brought up by the defense showing the police were trained to do that. And they called it the recovery position. And some have pointed out the reason why you move your foot off of their back is because if your weight is in their back, then their chest can't decompress and decompress.
Interesting.
So they'll asphyxiate.
So how is it that there's a PowerPoint presentation that says they're trained to, but then the other guy says he violated training?
So that was the interesting thing in the line of questioning where the judge was basically like, I don't know exactly what the ruling was, but it was an argument over admissibility for the PowerPoint presentation where he was like, Chauvin wasn't in the academy at the time this was being presented. And the defense was like, if they update their training policies, it's reasonable to suggest that Chauvin had heard this or was told this, or in some way, this is part of what the police do. And it was because an officer said, no one is trained to do that. That never happens. And this is really fascinating to me, that the judge wouldn't allow it because, by all means, say, Chauvin was never trained this. That's an important point, and it's good for the prosecution. Absolutely. If Chauvin was wrong, lock him up, throw away the key. But if someone goes on the stand and says, this violated policy, and he wasn't supposed to do this, that's what they say. The headline says, Derek Chauvin violated policy by doing this. But the police academy's got a photo of someone doing it. So how is it that they could show a cop doing exactly that and say it violates policy if they're showing it to people?
So were they showing this to people before or after Chauvin was trained? So before. So maybe it's something that the police force did away with by the time that Chauvin had done it.
It was a couple of years before, and perhaps. But interestingly, I think the argument was that the cop said like no one has ever been trained to do this or something to that effect. Like the defense isn't making things like, okay, I don't want to say that. Everybody is giving their point of view because they're trying to win a case.
Yeah,
My issue is that when you watch this, if you're a reasonable person, you're like, I understand their point. I certainly understand Chauvin may have violated policy and acted with neglect, which could be manslaughter, certainly not murder. But the defense is giving a defense, and it's reasonable doubt. Like, I'm sorry, man. Manslaughter is probably, in my opinion, the only thing that could potentially get him on. And I'm not even sure that's going to happen because that's negligence. And if they convince the jury that 9 minutes is excessive, 8 minutes, 46 seconds, then definitely.
Yeah, and I think if he does get charged with manslaughter, a lot of people will be upset that he wasn't charged with more than that.
That's why I think the problem is if the media keeps taking the headlines where it's like Chauvin violated policy or, Chauvin did this, Chauvin did that, defense says this, or it's always framing it as though you expect him to lose.
That's very astute. They're grooming people to freak if he gets
I don't
let
think
off.
it's intentional.
Yeah.
I think it's just that they think people are more likely to click because on the story because the story is bad for Chauvin and people don't like the guy. We all have our bias because we all saw the video. We all made our judgments. Everybody, even conservatives, were mad. So then the media is like, this is the headline that will get the most traffic. All of these stories, that headline, they do talk about hypoxia, but not in the headline, which people will read and then walk away from.
What is this? They wrote a headline, and then when you click it, it goes, and the headline's different.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
How did they do that? They originally got the headline from AP, and then the AP changed their headline. So
Yes,
all the other ones did too.
Exactly. Yep.
And the caching hasn't been updated.
And so Google has the old headline, and if you try and search for that story to share, you get a different story.
They should just wrote a new story.
That's right. They should have. That's right.
And be like, this article no longer exists if you click on that.
So the important factor here is someone could share the article where they're like, wow, I didn't realize this. It perhaps could have been hypoxia caused by drugs. What an interesting article. And then every other person sees the headline, Derek Chauvin violated policy, kneeling on the neck. And they're like, what are you talking about? So you guys remember like the gold and blue dress or whatever?
Yeah.
Or like
Oh my
Lanny
goodness, yes I do.
Yeah.
Yanny
Yanny
and
and Laurel.
Yeah.
They're creating this because someone's going to have like a cached version on their. They're going to have a cached version from the article.
Oh, wow.
Where it's not updated yet, and they're going to be like, it literally says hypoxia, potentially from drug
in front
use.
of me, yeah.
And then the other person's like, are you nuts? It says Chauvin kneeled on his neck and killed him. What are you talking about? I'm looking at the article right now.
Oh my god.
It's like they're intentionally making people insane. I don't mean literally. I'm just saying these articles and the way the system is designed, it's making people hate each other and go nuts.
It's a form of negligence, at least, like journalistic negligence.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
So now I'm just saying, I think we're getting to the point where, we'll get close to the end of the trial. And if people only hear these headlines about the bad things about Chauvin, only hearing from the prosecution, they're going to be like, this guy's going to prison. And then they're going to say, acquitted on all charges. And they go, how is that possible? I was reading the news about the trial. It was bad for him. Oh, the system is corrupt. Riots.
Definitely. I mean, I think we can agree there that there will probably be riots.
Either way.
I think
what
at this
happens.
point in the present epoch, you can just always assume that every major story is going to end with riots. Doesn't matter. That's my prediction for the future. There will be riots. I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening, but the riots will occur as a result.
Chauvin acquitted?
Riots.
Yeah.
Convicted. Riots.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Nothing happens.
Riots because he wasn't charged with first degree
Yeah,
murder and
yeah.
put on the death penalty.
Yeah,
Chauvin gets the space-time continuum rips asunder in the middle of the
Riots.
courtroom, and Chauvin gets sucked into an alternate reality, never to be seen, never to be
Riots.
seen
No,
again.
riots. You gotta go.
Riots.
Right,
There will
absolutely.
be riots.
Interdimensional riots.
Yes.
Riots,
It is.
exactly. All
Absolutely.
across all dimensions, there will be
Yeah.
rioting
Yeah,
constantly.
Kool-Aid guy bursts
All
into the
timelines.
courtroom. Riots.
I would-
Riots.
yeah, riot.
Riots.
Yes.
It's riots. No matter what, but it's like, yes, there will be riots.
So right now, what's happening is like a bunch of Antifa are in a room, and they're sitting there, and the door's closed, and there's like one Antifa, and he's looking at his watch, and he's got his hand up, and then they're all like getting jitters, like ready to start. And then it's like, okay, the news came in, and they just burst the door. Ah!
Yeah,
They're running
yeah.
around.
I
smashing
felt like
things.
that was in D.C. last year, like November. There was like a march or something I went to, and at the end of the night, I was down there, and you could see, I don't know if they were Antifa or whatever, a bunch of people wearing all black, just like standing around. We talked about that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
zombies before the night,
NPCs,
before the blood
yeah.
moon.
And
Waiting.
NPCs before the script activates and they storm in to like play the game or whatever.
You like clip through the wall, and you see them all like just waiting. It was so disturbing.
Yeah,
They were,
yeah.
like,
I'm sure most
sitting on ledges and stuff.
we brought this up at the time, but I'm sure most people are familiar with video games. So when there's like a boss battle, and like let's say the boss like bursts through the door and he's like, "Raw, who has woken me?" What's actually happening outside of that room is the character is standing there waiting for a script to activate to start the VO line and the graphics. So they're just like in a T pose or whatever, just sitting there. And if you can go outside the walls, you'll see all the NPCs just frozen or in a T pose.
Well, it's frightening because T-posing builds testosterone. So if Antifa's T-posing right now,
That's not
as
good.
soon as the orders come down the pike, they're going to be out of their minds,
Dude.
and they're going to be stronger than ever before.
That would be a hilarious skit. We should do that. We should hire a bunch of Antifa people to stand in a T pose outside of a protest, just not saying anything or moving.
Await orders.
No, just like just not
great.
say anything. And then finally, when something happens, they all start walking and they go, "Oh, fascism! Oh, it's so bad! Oh, we hate it!"
Oh man.
People will be like, "What just happened?" And like, "Oh, the main character he entered
He
into
just spawned. Yeah, he
he
respawned.
spawned." So the script restarts. Everybody walks back to the same spot and then puts in the T pose again, getting ready for the next riot.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I hate to say it, but I think it's
I hate
Right.
I hate to say that we're getting comfortable with that there might be riots. In the
I'm not
United
comfortable,
States.
but I'm accepting of it. Like there probably will be riots.
That's crazy.
accepting of it.
I've
Yeah,
never in my
yeah.
past been like, well, if global riots break out, well, whatever. It was always like, there shouldn't be riots.
Isn't what's? Oh, I'm sorry. I
Oh
interrupted
no,
you.
that was my point.
We're listen. We're entering this political cycle where like we're gonna be old and have kids, and it's going to be like, oh, it's 4:00, kids. Everybody come inside. The riots are coming. And the news is like, the riot will be arriving today at 4:10, a few minutes late.
Oh.
And they just like rampage through
like
town.
weather.
And yeah, exactly.
The riot man, the meteorologist. Yeah, it's sad. Well, and it's sad how many horrible things we've just become jaded towards. Like first it happened with public shootings and massacres, and now it's becoming the case with riots. We're just...
There was just, you see this video where the Antifa guy is trying to climb the Chase Bank?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
What?
Yeah, he tried.
That was rough.
Did not succeed.
He hit the ground. Can you play that? Are you going to play it?
I'll
And
search for it.
He hit the ground, and then all of a sudden, he started to bleed. I put in air quotes. But
No, it was like
it's black paint, but it looks like blood
I hope
oozing out
he's
from his
okay,
body.
man. Yeah, I don't
It's
like
just like-
Antifa, but
No,
that's-
he was going to vandalize this building
Oh,
with
I
black
see.
paint, and he fell and he landed on
Oh,
his
and
hip,
he-
and
Paint everywhere.
the paint starts dripping out. I was like, oh, it looks like oil or something. Like he's a robot at first, and
I mean,
then this girl's like, this guy comes up and he's like, what happened? Where did he fall from? She was like, he landed on his hip. He was like, he fell from his hip. She was like, he landed. Never
She
mind.
didn't want to say.
She didn't want to tell him.
So,
He was climbing
we
up there.
we have this
never
from
mind where
Andy
he
No.
fell from.
Andy No tweets at a far left anti-capitalism protest today at Chase Bank in Manhattan. A masked protester falls after attempting to climb the building. The black paint he was carrying is spilled all over the ground. So I'm not going to show the actual, because YouTube doesn't want us to, but I'll show you him climbing, because apparently that's okay. And then there's people yelling him, get down. He's not that high. I'm sorry.
He's like 8 feet up.
Yeah, he's like 8 feet up.
Yeah.
All right. And then he tries to
Splat.
grab onto the awning, falls down, his paint splatters. Here's my favorite part. Call 911.
Immediately.
Isn't it funny? You know what I thought about this? Check it out.
Yeah.
The guy slams
like,
the
why
ground.
not, why not a social worker?
Yeah.
No. Here's what I love. But yes. What I love about this is, imagine it's like 1870, and a guy is climbing the front of a bank, and he's like, "Down with capitalism," and then he falls and hits his pelvis. Do you know what the people around him would do?
But
They just walk away.
yeah.
Call for help, and they just leave. They're not. My hip is broken.
Call
wow.
the sheriff.
No one's gonna do
yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
They're gonna walk away from him. It's amazing that we're in today's day and age, and it's so pampered that these LARPers are like, I'm gonna climb the Chase Manhattan. Ah.
It was like the Chase Manhattan security guard. I can't confirm that he worked for Chase, but it was the same guy. It looked like a security guard for the building. Was like, we've called the ambulance. Don't worry. It's like the dude was just about to vandalize your building.
You still gotta do the right thing,
Thanks, I
right?
guess.
You know what, man? See, we're so tolerant and accepting of this behavior. I get it. What are we supposed to do? We can't just leave someone there. But I'll tell you this: when I saw that, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. I laughed a hearty laugh. You know why?
No.
Because I've fallen from higher, and I watched Jake Brown fall from 2 stories at the X Games,
Oh, wow.
slam onto his hip, get up, and walk out waving while everyone cheered for him. So for those who aren't familiar with what happened there, it was in the 2007, I think it was, or maybe 2006 X Games. Jake Brown's on the mega ramp. It's like 100 feet high drop-in. Then he launches like 70 feet. Then he goes up a 20-foot vert wall. He's like 48 feet in the air. He loses control and slams into the deck. His shoes fly like 50 to 100 feet, just crazy. And everyone thought he was dead. I watched it live, and we were just like, oh my God. And then they walk over to him. They check out his neck and everything. They lift him up, and then he limps out waving to the crowd.
Oh, wow.
This Antifa guy falls 8 feet, and he's going, oh. They're like, what's wrong? My hip.
He's frail, okay?
He's frail.
nice.
He needs to drink more milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's this weird thing where people have survived falls from extreme heights, but then some people will fall like literally 5 or 6 feet, and they'll sever their spine and die. Like
Yeah.
it's happened.
Dude.
It's really horrible and scary. My friend was in the military, and he was telling me about someone in his unit who was a paratrooper, and his parachute did not open when he jumped out of the plane, and his backup didn't open. Whoa. And he landed, and he survived. He basically shattered all of his bones. But yeah, he survived the fall, which is insane.
Yeah, apparently there's like techniques you can do. I guess they say aim for trees.
Yeah, the way you land.
Oh,
Yep, better than
oh
splattering on the ground.
man,
Yeah,
yeah.
Let me tell y'all a story. Let's talk about some skateboarding.
Story
See, I was like 16, and I was skating at a skate park, and there was this. We'll just call it a box. It was like 5 feet high, 5 feet off the ground, and then from the top of it, there was a gap over another ramp, which is about 5 feet. I spent about an hour. I'm 16. I'm trying to do what's called a backside 180 over this 5 foot high, 5 foot long gap to the ground. Backside is when you're spinning and you can't see where you're going because you're looking behind you. I think I fell like 30 times. And every time I would hit the ground, I'd slip out or I'd, roll. And then finally I landed, rolled away all clean, and everyone's like, oh, and they're all cheering for me. And then literally like a minute after that, some like 7-year-old kid was jumping up and down and frolicking with his mom, slipped on the ground in front of the ramp and broke his ankle.
Oh,
jeez.
And that's when I was like, man, isn't that weird? It's crazy how like I can jump off this on purpose for like 30 tries. And each time I fall, hit the ground, I just bounce and roll away and get up. And I'm like, I want to try it again.
Well, like it's such a strange thing. Like so my brothers were both in a car accident probably about 10 years ago now. On the highway while they were doing 80, and the car was like completely totaled, and they had their seatbelts on, and thank God they survived. But there are people who end up like permanently brain damaged after a literal fender bender.
Yeah.
It's just it's crazy. You never know.
Yeah, dude, it's legit. Yeah, some people like will bang their head just a little bit on like the window, and then it's just like causes damage. But are we basically saying that this Antifa guy has been severely injured, and we must
I have no idea.
Maybe he got really hurt.
I don't know.
Part of me
see
was
the video.
like, did not want EMS or anything. I was like, that vandal deserves to lay there in pain. But that was like a mean part of me. I don't know.
Yeah.
In a way, you want to take care of your enemies as well, like the wounded.
Yeah, love your
no matter
enemies.
who they are.
Yeah.
We in the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Yes.
He tends to both sides after the battle. And then the British, because they're evil, and they always will be.
The redcoats, exactly.
Basically, burn his house down.
Love you,
because
Brits.
they did it. I'm kidding about the Brits.
You've evolved.
Well,
You've
apparently-
Tim,
evolved.
we know you hate the Brits. I get it.
Apparently, no, there's a big
They were so
controversy, I
mad
guess,
at us.
because
Yeah.
in that movie, they depict the British as like really
Like
brutal.
way over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
they like make them Nazis.
yeah, no, for real.
Pretty
Like he
much,
kills
yeah.
his kid.
Yeah.
He's like, you tended to the wounded, kill his son.
Yeah.
And shoots
Mel
him or
Gibson's
whatever.
great at propaganda. Really good.
He is
It was
that.
such American propaganda, that movie. Good movie.
Yeah, I
Great
mean,
movie, yeah.
Massive American
No,
propaganda.
the truth is the British Empire had power, and they were basically the state and telling the Americans who were like, "Yo, leave us alone," what to do, and so conflict breaks out. But anyway, I think where we taught how we get into this.
I have no idea.
treating
where
the
this even
wounded
came
on
from.
the-
Oh yeah,
Treating
treating the wounded.
Yes.
So actually, I'm conflicted on this too, because there's a difference between like understanding there's a conflict in a war and these people who keep doing this stuff. They don't stop. And what happens is they set fires, they break things, they don't get arrested. In fact, we render aid to them.
Yeah.
And so I understand. I would never let a person just sit there if they were truly injured. I'd call them, medical team. I'm just pointing out the difficulty here and how do you stop someone from doing something dumb like trying to climb chase while they're screaming, get down. And then he gets hurt and we're like, who all saw that coming?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, treat them, but they should face the full consequences that are due to them legally. Like we should be arresting these people, of course. Don't let any of them off.
Yeah, but it's the prosecutors. And I'll tell you this,
yeah.
man. We've had a bunch of conversations in the past couple of weeks where I've been like, tax the rich. Not literally, but I'm just saying stop billionaires from influencing politics. And I get a lot of pushback, I get pushback for, I had Jack Murphy and Michael Malice, and they didn't agree with me on that one. But my issue is these district attorneys, they're getting put in office through the money of these ultra wealthy, progressive billionaire types. Not all of them are progressives. I don't agree with any one of these billionaires just flooding the zone with money and shutting out the opinions of the actual people who live there. But when people are just swept up with hundreds of millions of dollars in propaganda, these DAs get elected. We know that, George Soros, for instance, was donating a lot to a lot of the district attorneys.
That's just a conspiracy theory, Tim. I don't know why you would
It's
ever say
also
George Soros'
Steyer.
name. I want everyone to know that I like having a YouTube channel, and I denounce Tim right now. That's
That's right.
horrible.
But, so-
You say anything about George Soros.
It's true. Well, I'll tell you this: it was the Mercers, the Koch brothers. It's George Soros. It's Bezos. It's Mackenzie Bezos. It is Tom Steyer, Michael Bloomberg. All of these ultra wealthy people dump money into politics. And one of the big things we saw was that I believe this is really funny. Like Fox News, I think Newt Gingrich was on. He was like, George Soros' foundation was helping to get these district attorneys elected. And then Fox was like, we don't say that around here. And then people were like, that's a fact.
So
It's not even-
weird.
That's so funny to
but
me.
you apparently you can't even say the guy's name anymore. That's creepy. The point is, I don't like the billionaires. The millionaires and the billionaires doing this because then listen, these people do dumb things. They get arrested, and then the newly elected DA, who's very progressive, goes, "You're free to go.
That's crazy.
No charges."
It's crazy. There should be some oversight.
You can't name Soros. If I had only read one single book in my entire life, I might compare him to Voldemort.
Oh, I see.
He was self-made, right? George Soros, didn't he come from
Well, look,
a lowly...
the left. Apparently, the only book they've ever read are Harry Potter.
That's true.
Here's
Great
the thing.
books,
All
by the
they
way.
ever reference are Harry Potter and The Handmaid's Tale, both of which are movies or exist in visual media. So it's like, I know you didn't even read them.
Yeah, he literally
You just
didn't
watched
read
the
book.
movie.
The
Yeah.
only literature they quote exists on television.
Did you
So,
guys ever
I
read
don't know.
Dune?
No.
Dune, you got to read it.
Aren't they making that? When's that new movie coming out?
Soon,
I don't know. They made a movie with Sting in the early 80s. And
Yeah, I saw that one.
They made a made-for-TV movie with William Hurt, which was way better.
It was weird.
Yeah, the David Lynch movie was a little off.
Oh yeah, you told us to
awkward.
watch it, didn't you?
Not the David. Well, watch it for weirdness, but the made-for-TV movie is way better. But the book.
I heard the book was good. Yeah.
That was
Why?
a
What's it
tangent.
about?
It's basically
It's about the spice,
this kid,
big worms.
this king and his son, his family have to flee the planet, and they leave the planet and they go to this new planet that's a desert planet to harvest the spice, which is like this galactic
spice
trade item, and there's like conflict over the spice, political conflict.
I thought there was
And
gonna be
there's
something
magic.
like analogous to Antifa.
No, it's just such a great book that all these, I guess you call them
aside.
leftists, and
Just an
Harry
aside,
Potter's
yeah.
great. Dune, read
Dune's
Dune. It is
better.
political. Maybe there's something to it.
These people just don't read books, man.
Well, this is my favorite thing. I saw this meme a while ago, and it was like comparing Trump and Harry Potter instead, just like troll lefties. It was very funny, but it was like favorably comparing Trump to Harry Potter, and people were spreading it around. I thought that was hilarious.
So who,
think it's
in
the
that
favorite.
context, who's Voldemort?
Probably Hillary. Probably maybe Soros. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, come on, I'm not into Harry Potter.
I just-
what
I just-
are
I
we
just-
talking about? Like, I don't.
I love how like at this protest they're holding up a big banner that says solidarity, and I'm like, what is that?
What protest?
At the one where the guy climbs the wall and then falls and hurts himself.
Oh my gosh.
They're like holding up a big banner that says solidarity, and I'm like, do you people like know what you're talking about?
For real,
what are you protesting?
the banking establishment is a problem, but painting black stuff on their windows isn't.
That's gonna show them, Ian.
That'll show
That'll
Yeah,
stop
right.
it.
Yeah,
That won't
are
get
you
the
serious?
cops to come out and crack down.
No, I can just imagine, the CEO, you got Jamie Dimon sitting in, I don't know if he's still CEO, whatever, probably. And then he looks on the TV, he looks out from the 100th floor of whatever building he's in, and he sees tiny little dots, and he goes, what are they doing? Is that black paint on my window? What have I done?
And then he goes, "Oh, push the button." And he hits, and he hits a button, and the building is electrically charged, and the guy's electrocuted and falls off the building, and everyone just thinks he slipped.
That's what happened.
And then-
Oh my
That
god.
explains everything.
Yes.
Like when the guy tells the story about what happened, it's very dramatic. He's like in his
It's like all my muscles seized up at once.
in his version of it, he's super ripped, and he's like, and he's like 100 feet in the air, and then Jamie Dimon punches him in the face.
You'll pay for this, Diamond. Planes are flying by shooting at him. It's like, nah.
All right.
Anyway.
There are better ways to protest the banks.
Agreed.
Keep that in mind, guys.
Yeah, I've always maintained like
Audit the Fed.
damaging a window does nothing to anybody but the people who have to clean it.
What is
Right.
this guy? Did you guys see this guy suing the Federal Reserve? Have you guys looked into that?
I
at
think
all?
he's gonna win, Ian.
I think he might.
I
think he might have
I
a
have my
case.
doubts,
The
personally.
Did you guys-
he's gonna sue them for
listen.
everything they have, and they're just gonna keep printing and
Did you-
printing and printing, and he's gonna be the wealthiest
difference.
person who ever
Yes.
lived.
Did you guys see Ryan Long's not Antifa window repair?
Yes, that was hysterical.
That was so
That was
good.
hysterical.
Yes.
Watch it.
Yeah.
So they have shirts that say "Not Antifa Window Repair," and he's like, "We like figured out a way to maximize profits while we're in protesting." And they have Antifa shirts, and they take them off, and it's like "Not Antifa Window Repair," and he's like, "Basically, we go out, organize these protests, so everyone smashes the windows, and then we're right there to pick up the business."
Freaking brilliant.
And then they actually went into bodegas and like talked to them, like, "We'll fix your windows if they're if they get smashed out." Yeah, good stuff. Good comedy.
Yes.
Good
wonderful.
Ryan Long comedy.
He's
Yeah.
a genius, man.
All right.
Good
Well,
Ryan.
have we talked about Antifa falling off the
I think we have
falling?
beaten that to death.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the
Let's
Section
religion
230
or
stuff, man.
something.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing I want to do is I want to lead with this. 81m.org. Have you guys seen this? Have you heard about this? Have you seen this?
No.
No.
81M?
81m.org.
I don't know.
Tracking the White House YouTube channel.
Oh, yes. We were talking about this.
This is
a
crazy.
great story, and it's not shocking at all.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's crazy. So check this out. If you go to 81m.org, they say that they're analyzing the real like to dislike ratio versus what's displayed on the White House channel. So you'll look right here. Check this out. On April 5th, 14,570 views. The video is titled, President Biden Delivers Remarks on the Tradition of Easter at the White House. You can see the official approval rate, according to YouTube, is 12.58%. It's got 1,599 dislikes. The real approval rate is only 4.76% because it has 4,606 dislikes. This is every single video. You can see that they're deleting dislikes, not nearly enough. Okay, in this one, it's not much different. Some of them are fairly dramatic, like it says 1,000 dislikes when there's 4,000. This one's got 20,000 dislikes,
What?
and YouTube claims it only has 7,000. Now, when I first saw this, I thought to myself, how do I know this is true?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they're just
My
lying.
question. Yeah.
They could be lying.
Could just be
It's true.
liars.
Could be liars.
Oh,
Dirty.
well, that's the story then.
Pants on fire liars.
Yeah.
But they also include an additional metric to compare using the same data.
At the end, they say, "Trust me, bro." So
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're
Yes.
telling the truth.
And come on, man.
Don't
yeah,
pay
come
attention.
on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I'm like, well, I don't know.
Okay, he's got a point.
That sounds like Biden. They track PewDiePie. When you look at PewDiePie's like to dislike ratio, it's almost identical across the board. There are some disparities, but that's because YouTube does legitimately get rid of spam dislikes from bot farms and things like that. PewDiePie is overwhelmingly his numbers are accurate. So when you look at a massive channel like his, then you look at the White House, it's very strange. Now, again, I'll say it. It's possible the people behind 81M are just like giving us bunk numbers and then claiming they're doing the right thing.
QAnon Trump supporters.
Yeah, far right.
Is it 81m.org?
Yeah, 81m.org.
That's possible.
Yeah, maybe they're just lying. But we know for a fact that YouTube has already stated in the past they do remove likes from the White House YouTube
Dislikes?
channel. Dislikes, sorry.
Yeah.
And they announced that they may get rid of the dislike feature
I heard about this.
for people's health.
I hope so, because it's bad for my health when I get a dislike on one of my videos. I wish
Yeah.
YouTube would come through
You'll-
and delete some of those.
But you can still see them. It's just other people can't.
Oh.
Oh, that's not good.
That's not going to help my health. What
Yeah,
does
I
that
think-
do for
didn't
me?
they change it to say not for me instead of a downvote?
I did see
And
that.
you're like, this
Somebody
this
sent me
video
that.
kind of video is not for me, and then the algorithm tries to feed you less
Not
videos
for
like
me.
that. I
don't
saw a
I saw that
screenshot
go
of a
by.
Steven Crowder video that
Yeah.
said not for me instead of dislike.
Huh.
It's interesting.
I never disliked. Since 2007, I kind of made like a personal choice to never do that to someone. I either like it or not. If I don't like it, I don't say anything.
I actually think they should get rid of dislikes.
Really?
What's
yeah.
that?
Likes and dislikes?
Dislikes absolutely do hurt channels. They make sure that other people can't see the content. So what happens is, because Crowder brought this up, that they'll put out a video where it's like Joe Biden says, X. And people will go, I can't believe Joe Biden said that. Dislike.
Oh, yeah,
And then he's like, no, don't dislike us. Dislike.
Yeah.
We agree with you. Like what we're saying.
Maybe it's possible to adjust the algorithm so that disliking the video doesn't result in fewer people viewing it, but the audience is still able to know what the general consensus on the video is.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you can have, like, Facebook has little emojis, so you can have the angry emoji, the
Yeah.
heart emoji, the thumbs up emoji.
make it more complicated.
And they kind of show, like, did it make you angry? Did it make you happy? Did it make you laugh? So they could use that algorithm.
I've got a really good idea. I think this is the future for YouTube. They have 5 stars, and you can give the video a ranking of
like
a
that,
0
yeah.
all the way at the beginning or 5 stars, and
Oh,
each
wow.
video will be somewhere along the spectrum. Boom.
I like
Why
that.
didn't
vision.
anyone ever
Why
try
didn't anyone
anything
ever
like
do that?
Yeah.
That would have been great.
They should have been doing that
When-
since the beginning.
Yeah. Like right when they started, it should have had that
They
system.
changed
Like
it,
before
didn't
before Google
I'm just a
bought 'em.
genius. Yeah. Yeah,
Why-
when
why-
did that change?
Why did they get rid of that?
I don't know.
I
Like,
have
in all
no
seriousness.
idea. Honestly, I do think like a like-dislike thing is more accurate than...
And is a lie